Playing the guitar is a fairly simple gesture to execute. The sibling of playing guitar is lifting hands. So depending on whether your left hand is forward, this would be called playing guitar, and this would be called lifting hands. So what I'm going to do is finish doing a brush knee push, which sets up the play guitar. So I'm going to shift forward, keep your one height, don't raise up. Just keep your knees bent and accommodate your one height. So from here I'm going to shift forward, reach out with my right hand, and as my hands come together, I slide my right foot behind me, sitting back, and totally separate yin from yang. Nothing in the front foot. And again, I use opportunities to relax whenever I can, so here's a good chance to let those muscles go. So one more time, simply shift forward, keep your one height. Do that by staying bent in the knees. Slide the right foot behind you, sit back, and there's your play guitar. In the opposite direction of the form, I would be in a right bow stance with brush knee push. This one's going to turn into lifting hands. As I shift forward and align my hands, slide the left foot behind me, and then pass my hands one behind the other. Now this is a martial application used for breaking somebody's elbow. Again, this might be difficult to visualize. I'll do it from the front. If somebody was punching in my direction, the reason that I'm reaching out is to intercept their attacking hand. Then as I sit back, I pull them towards me, and this left hand would slide straight up their arm, and as it starts to approach their joint, you can put a little pressure on it, which is why my hands end up one behind the other, because at some point that joint would let go depending on how much pressure you put there. All right, so the idea is basically to reach forward, and you want to line your hands up, slide the foot behind you, then sit back, and that would break their joint. Now what I want to do is I want to look at the footwork part, because that's the part that's tricky. So I'm going to do a little bit of a close-up. Before I do that though, let's look at it from this perspective. Without using my hands, just to concentrate on how my feet are going, I'm going to shift all my weight forward. Now I like to use the concept of 5 toes down. What I mean by that is your bow stance already has the feet pointing in the correct directions. And a cat stance is the same thing. Back foot's to the corner, front foot straight ahead. Bow stance, back foot's to the corner, front foot straight ahead. I need to maintain the same alignment. But how do I do that without twisting my foot? So when I shift forward, what might happen is if I just bring this foot without any thought, it could turn out funky. It might even come out straight like this. What helps me is that I can feel right down to my pinky, all 5 toes touching the floor. And you'll see how I can sort of bend your toes in such a way that you can kind of keep that angle. So as I shift my foot, shift to my front leg, this one slides literally straight across, so that when I sit back, I actually sink into the stance. Now I have separation of yin and yang, my left foot straight ahead, my back foot's to the corner. What you have to try to figure out to not do is when you shift forward, that's the easy part. Here's the hard part, not going past too far. Because if I sit down literally, what's going to happen is I'm going to shift and I'm going to fall over to this side. Now you can kind of cheat that if you wanted to, shifting forward. If I overstep, well, if I sit down, I'm going to turn my body in this direction and I won't fall. But then I'm not facing in the direction of where the attack is coming from. So let's look at this from a close-up perspective. So I don't really care about my hands too much right now. I want to stay focused on my feet. So here's the idea. I'm 50-50 because I'm in my bow stance from the brush knee push. What I'm going to do now is shift my weight forward, lift up my heel, and you can see how my toes are at a 45-degree angle, and it kind of follows the crease of that design. So as I shift forward, now here's the idea. Take this foot and follow the yardstick. Draw it straight across and keep it parallel. What you got to do is figure out how far to go or how far not to go. For me, if my foot's about 3 or 4 inches to the right of my post or left foot, that's a pretty good spot. So when I put this back down, you can see that I'm still in line with the yardstick, okay? It's down here with my feet, keeping that configuration. So again, I start from a bow stance, keep your one height, shift your weight. If you have to look down, it's okay. It's more important to get the right stance, because if you don't get your right stances, it's hard to transition from one gesture to another in Tai Chi Chuan. So shift forward to free this foot. Try to feel the 5 toes touching the ground. Move this over parallel to the yardstick, and then literally sit straight back, put the heel on the ground, and if you've done this properly, your left foot can come up off the floor and you don't move your body at all. This is an empty yin leg, and it's flat, and it's a dead weight. It's kind of like what I call like the Mr. Ed drill. For you who are old enough to know who Mr. Ed was, it was a horse. And if I asked Mr. Ed, what's 2 plus 2? He might do this. All right, so the thing is what I'm trying to get to is that this is literally a dead leg when I do this, totally empty. So taking a look at it from another angle, I'm in a bow stance from the end of my brush knee push, shift my weight forward, raise the heel, slide the foot, keep it parallel to the yardstick, put it down, and sit. Test yourself, make sure that you have no weight in that front foot. We're holding the principle for separation of substantial and insubstantial. So like the lifting hands that we saw earlier, there's not a whole lot to this, so I'm just going to kind of like breeze through this because it's fairly simple. All you really have to make sure you do is line your hands up, and when you're done, you have your inside hand pointing to the elbow of the other hand. And also you want to have your hands one behind the other. So as I reach out and these pass each other, they're not going to touch, but they're going to come close. You kind of realign them on the inside, because again, if an arm is straight ahead and I'm trying to break it, you don't want your hands out here when you're done. You're basically sliding up somebody's arm. So if this was an attacking arm and I'm reaching out to get the arm, this hand here would slide up, and then it's going to put pressure against the elbow joint, and this hand's going to put pressure on the other side. So you reach out, you slide up their arm, and then when you sit back, this hand puts pressure here, this hand puts pressure there, and that's what breaks the attacker's joint. So that being said, I'm just going to do this in a few directions so you can follow along. In the direction of the form itself, in the common direction, I just finished doing my brush knee push, the first one. I follow that first one with a slide, shift forward, slide the foot behind, sit back, and there's my play guitar. All right. Looking at it from the back side, shift forward, keep the one height, line up the hands, slide the foot, don't go too far, find that sweet spot, sit back, root in that back heel. All right, I'm going to face you, so that means that we're going to do everything in reverse. All right, this is where you mirror me. Whenever I face the camera, you mirror what you see. Don't try to match me. All right, you're going to shift forward and reach with your left hand, slide the right foot behind you, sit back, and finish. Make sure that you have no weight in that front foot. All right, let's do this in the direction that's not common. I would be in a right bow stance and doing a push with my left hand. This one's going to turn into what's called lifting hands. All right, shift forward, reach out, bring the right hand up to align it. Everything's in a straight line now, just like when I have the yardstick in my hands, and slide this foot together, all at the same time. Shift, slide, sit back, root in the back foot, totally empty this one, totally relaxed, nothing in it. All right? So, from behind, shift forward, keep one height, slide the foot behind you, line up the hands, sit back, and lifting hands. No weight in the front foot. facing you. Mirror me. And shift forward, reach out with your left hand, slide the foot behind, sit back, and that's